Hello and a very warm welcome to you. We're going to be exploring a really profound question today, one that I think everyone grapples with at some point. How do we actually measure our worth? We'll be diving into a powerful perspective from the Quran on this folly of chasing worldly status.
So let's just jump right in. The passage we're looking at confronts a very, very human tendency, judging people and ourselves by wealth, by appearance, by social connections. And it all kicks off with a challenge. Really, it's more of a taunt, one that's designed to shift a discussion about truth into a contest of social standing.
I mean, just imagine this. You're in a serious discussion about faith, about purpose, life's big questions, and the response you get is, yeah, but which of us is doing better in life? Who's got the better house, the better connections? This is the exact scenario the Quran lays out. It's a question that's not looking for truth at all. It's designed to shut down the conversation by flexing worldly success.
In this verse right here, it just captures a classic defensive move, doesn't it? When someone's entire worldview is challenged, instead of actually engaging with the message, they pivot. They pivot to social status. It's this really subtle way of arguing, hey, if my beliefs were wrong, why would I be so successful?
This tactic actually has a name. It's called sophistry. It's the art of using these clever-sounding but ultimately false arguments to sidestep what's really being discussed. And we've all seen it, right? You change the subject to something you feel like you're winning at instead of addressing the point that's on the table. The Quran sees this immediately and gets ready to dismantle it, piece by piece.
So how does the Quran push back? Well, it's not by getting into an argument about who has more stuff. Instead, it takes a much, much longer view. It kind of zooms all the way out and looks at the grand sweep of history for its first rebuttal.
This verse is just such a powerful reality check. The whole argument from wealth and power completely collapses when you look at the ruins of history. The verse is basically asking, you think your stuff and your image make you secure? Just look at the civilizations that came before you. They had way more than you. They looked far more impressive. And where are they now?
And this slide just illustrates that contrast perfectly. Over on the left, you see everything those past generations were so proud of. Better possessions, more power, a slicker outward appearance. But then you look to the right, and you see the reality of their end. Moral decay led to a divine decree, and poof, they were gone. So the crucial point here is that worldly advantage offers absolutely zero protection against ultimate accountability. So from that big, sweeping historical lesson, the Quran now zooms right in. It focuses on the mindset of a single individual to show us just how deep this kind of arrogance can actually run.
Now, this is a fascinating little case study in hubris. Here's a person who is so confident in their worldly status that they literally project it onto the afterlife. They just assume that because they have wealth and family now, well, they're entitled to it forever. It's really the ultimate expression of self-assurance, this belief that the rules of the unseen will just bend to your current success.
But, of course, that kind of incredible presumption, it can't just go unchallenged. So the Quran immediately follows up with two simple yet absolutely devastating questions that just completely pull the rug out from under this boast.
First, this one. Has he somehow peered into the future? Does he possess some secret knowledge of what lies beyond death? Of course, the question is rhetorical because the answer is an obvious no. It just exposes the claim for what it is, pure speculation based on nothing more than ego.
And then, bam, the second blow. Okay, so you don't know the unseen, but maybe you've secured a contract? Do you have a covenant with God guaranteeing you all these things? And again, the answer is a resounding no. To make a claim like that requires a divine promise that was just never given. His whole argument is built on thin air.
And the text is really clear that these aren't just empty words. This kind of arrogant speech has real, tangible consequences. Every boast is recorded. It becomes evidence against the speaker. Their culpability goes up. And sometimes they're just left to wander blindly in their own transgression until eventually reality catches up with them. Okay, so this brings us to the final piece of the argument. This is where that initial taunt that we started with gets turned completely on its head. It's a really powerful reversal that brings the entire lesson home. Just look at this comparison. On the left, we have that original boast. We're better in position. We have better associations. But the Quran promises that a day will come when the truth is revealed. And on that day, the terms are completely inverted. The one who claimed to be best in position will be shown to be worst in position, and the one who boasted about their strong network will be revealed as having the weaker soldiers. So if worldly status is fleeting,
If it's ultimately unreliable, then what does have real, lasting value? See, the Quran doesn't just tear down a false idea. It builds a true one in its place.
And this right here is the heart of the matter. This is the core thesis of the entire passage. While all that worldly prestige just fades away, it's the enduring good deeds, acts of faith, kindness, integrity, obedience. Those are what truly count. They are better in the sight of God, both for the reward they bring and as the ultimate place to turn for real security.
So really, the passage lays out two very clear paths for us. We can choose the path of chasing worldly prestige, which, it might offer some temporary gains, but it's ultimately a false sense of security. Or we can choose the path of accepting divine guidance, which leads to this compounding spiritual growth and a reward that actually truly endures.
Ultimately, this whole argument can be boiled down to a simple but incredibly powerful message. True worth, it's not found in what we have or who we know. It's found in our character, in our humility before God and our mindfulness of His guidance. That is the currency that has lasting value.
And that leaves us with a final thought to reflect on. We live in a world that is constantly telling us to measure ourselves by our jobs, by our followers, by our possessions. So the real question for each of us is, when you strip all of that away, what is the ultimate measure of our worth? Thank you so much for joining me today.